Welcome to another edition of Why Are You Awake? My name is Paul Farahvar. I'm your host. This podcast talks to people that are up late at night. This week we have comedian JONAH Jurkens. You will love this episode. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you're listening to this and you are a former Singles Only listener, go over to youtube.com/Paul F Comedy and check it out live. We're videotaping this in my studio. If you are reviewing it, or if you are subscribed, please review us. And if you are reviewing us, please give us all the stars in the world. Also follow JONAH Jurkens wherever he is on the social medias. And go to my website, paulfcomedy.com, to see my upcoming dates and come see me live. Don't forget to check out our sponsors. Hey, gang. As some of you know, I used to be a practicing lawyer in Chicago. I no longer practice, but from time to time, I need a lawyer. And when I need a lawyer, I call my friend Scott Shapiro. Scott Shapiro has been practicing law for over 25 years in Chicago. He does it all, from workers' compensation to personal injury, employment issues, and even entertainment law and contract needs. If you need a lawyer, call my friend Scott. 312-648-8800. That's 312-648-8800. Or you can email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome. Are you clap?
Oh, you want you honestly?
Sure. You give me a... Hey, it's time for Why Are You Awake? My name is Paul Farahvar. This week's guest is JONAH Jurkens. We'll get to him in a minute. Actually, we'll get to him now. Hey, Jonah.
Hey, Paul, did you put a G in my last name there when you said Jurkens?
Jurkens.
How are you saying Jurkens?
Jurkens.
Jurgens. Jurkens? I think you're saying it wrong.
JONAH Jurkens.
Yeah. It sounds like you put a G in there.
Jurgens.
Yeah.
Like Jergens lotion.
Uh-huh.
I probably did.
Yeah. We've been friends for over 10 years.
I know.
Can't say my last name. Farahvar.
Comedian JONAH Jurkens joins us.
Uh-huh.
Comedian JONAH Jurkens joins us. Jerk, like jerk, right?
Yeah. Loosely based comedian JONAH Jurkens.
Star of such podcasts as I haven't watched Vanderpump Rules. Is that right?
Never seen Vanderpump Rules.
Never seen Vanderpump Rules. And Let's Get Dumb.
Let's Get Dumb. Blackour Diaries.
Blackour Diaries, fun show. Very fun. I'm doing
Very
it this week.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I got to fucking prepare for that.
What? Just do what you did last time.
I know. So Jonah and I, we go way back. It's kind of funny because I want to talk to you about that. I'm reading this book about the origins of comedy in Chicago, the Mike Bridenstine's book.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because our comedy era started right after that, I think, right?
Yeah.
Well, you weren't there for the Kyle Kinane and all that stuff, were you?
I was not, no. Were you there?
No. I came after you. You were already doing comedy when I started.
I know. I was there, so some of the names at the end of that book is kind of like when I started. So Dave Odd was a name that's mentioned.
You already finished the book?
No, I just know about the book because I skimmed through it. I bought it to support Mike. Because Bret,
I'm not done with the book, so don't tell me how it ends.
Yeah, so
tell me about that chapter.
Well, the point is I think like there was comedians like
I know who Dave Odd is.
Yeah, Dave Odd and like Sean Flannery, who I run a show with, is mentioned a lot in that book, and there's a lot of names that are mentioned. That
absolutely,
I still have a little bit. Yeah. But I started 2009 ish here in Chicago. So it was so when that book ends is when I started kind of.
We'll do the next chapter.
Yeah.
Talk about they keep talking about how the Lion's Den was the greatest open mic, and I'm like, well, until
two versions
took over.
Yeah.
Which is where I met you. One of the best open mics of Chicago.
That sounds like something. That sounds like something the person that started it would say. Yes,
I did start it. Yeah,
you did.
Right.
Yeah, I remember. My first interaction with you is that I remember.
I don't remember it, so you go for. You probably will remember it.
Because you were notorious because you're a lawyer. For you're very meticulous and you were very detailed. Like this is how I do things and this is how it is and that's all fucking is. And I remember being like, if you went up to you Paul, and you were like, hey, I want to sign up. I'm gonna go do this other mic, whatever. I'm gonna come back. You'd be like, that's not happening. And I saw you outside on Clark Street, which is like there was a lot of open mics on that street, which is kind of where Wrigleyville is.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It is where Wrigleyville is.
So
right by Wrigley.
The microphone, the open microphone show was 2.5 Persians at Merkel's on Clark Street in Wrigleyville.
Right.
So you saw me on Clark Street.
I saw you. I was in my car, and then you were walking by. I was with Dan Ronan, who's a comedian who unfortunately passed away. He knew who he was. I didn't know who you were. And then he tried to finagle like, hey, we're going to come back, put us on the list. And for some reason, I think you let it happen with him, but you were like, who the fuck are you? And
I knew you. I knew you because we had a mutual friend that's like, oh, this guy does comedy. You should put him up. And you went up and did the mic. And you did really well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
You really did. And all joke. And then like we had a competition at the end where the best comedians at the end would go up and do it. And you were going to be on it and you left. And I was like, that motherfucker could have whatever.
Because I was obsessed with doing as many mics as I could.
That's when you cared about comedy. Yeah.
Yeah. That one month where I was like, I'm going to go for this. Things are going to work out for me.
No, which is funny because I was like that after that, but I didn't understand at the time because when I started the mic, I was like, this is a show. You've got to support other comedians, blah, 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 blah.
Which was a great show. And then you had judges on.
Celebrity judges. Or judges that were like decision makers.
Yeah.
I remember that. People would do their A material because like the bookers from Laugh Factory were there or Comedy Bar or whatever.
Yeah. Because you were doing improv at the time.
I was.
Right.
And you were too, right?
I was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you did stand up? Is that how? Yeah. Is that your origin story?
Yeah,
origin story?
Okay. I did it overlapped a little bit, but I started improv. I was already like level 3 at Second City and IO when I started stand up.
Nice.
How about you?
I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I did a year stand up there, but that was like once a month I'd do like an open mic, and I was like, I'm a comedian. And people were like, oh, when can I see you next? I'm like, open mic. And then
which is funny because you have that joke about someone who says you get into a fight with someone who says I'm a comedian. I'm like, well, I'm a comedian.
Yeah, well, I'm a fucking comedian. Yeah. And then I moved down here to do Second City. I was doing Second City. Yeah. I was driving from Milwaukee to do Second City. A friend of mine and I would.
So and you drive back at night?
And drive back at night. Yeah, so because we would go out after, so we would drive back at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Jesus. So when did the lights go off in terms of your motivation and when you started just calling it in?
Pretty immediate. Pretty immediate. You know, when I found out that life's more fun outside of stand-up. So it's pretty quick. But then I moved down here to specifically do that, and then this is like when comedians like Hannibal Buress is still down here, Prescott Tolk, and like a lot of like comics, and I was like, I ate my dick really bad, and I was like, improv's better. They're so supportive. And then I went and I quit for 3 years, and I did improv for 3 years.
So when did you start the improv? So 2009?
Yeah. Okay. Well, before that, because I was driving down and doing improv.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2009 is your stand-up origin.
Yeah. So I was like, Tim Robinson was my coach.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like those years of improv was like, 4 of my coaches ended up being on Saturday Night Live, and like it was like Tim Robinson and Pat O'Brien, and then
Mike O'Brien. You mean?
It was Pat O'Brien. He was went by Pat O'Brien, and then he went by Mike O'Brien. Okay. Yeah, and then like kind of like that crew was like. Those are the guys that I came up with, or that I came up. Those are the guys that like taught me. You. Yeah,
and they used to come. Like Tim used to come to the mic to support Soren Choksky, and I'm like, "Do you want to go up?" He's like, "No, I'm not doing stand-up."
Yeah,
which is incredible to me.
I know.
Those minds in the improv world that are so fucking funny.
I took a class by Tim, and he would jump in with you and do improv, and like you could feel the charisma and like
he's so good. I saw him on the main stage, and I was like, I became an immediate fan of him and Sam Robinson.
Yeah,
they used to come to the open mic. I'm like, do you guys want to go up? Like, we don't do stand up.
I know.
You're funnier than everyone in this fucking room.
I know, and I remember doing shows with Sam, and I would watch him. And I'm like, oh my god, this guy is gonna.
You did shows with Sam, or he was your?
He would be like on a different team, but we'd be on the lineup together.
Got it.
Like at
at IO or whatever.
It's closed down now, but it was on Halsted and Belmont, which I'm forgetting the name. Underground Theater.
Annoyance Theater? No. Okay.
I forget the name of it, but that's why we met kind of all those guys, which was like insane. It was like such a time. Like when you read that book that you're reading.
Yeah.
What is that called now?
A little amount of
wrong. Yeah.
The perfect amount of wrong.
Yes. So like when they talk about like that, like fever pitch, of stand up.
2004 or whatever to 2006.
Yeah. That
before us.
To me, that was like improv when I moved down to 2008, 2009 was like, I mean, the first show I saw was Tim Robinson, this guy, Brendan Jennings, who's still one of my favorite comedians, who's like the janitor that on AP Bio, which Pat O'Brien did that, and then A.D. Bryant, and I saw that show, and to this day I think that's the hardest I've ever. I laughed so hard the back of my head was hurting.
Yeah, and
I was like, what is going on down here? And then you see like T.J. Jaganowski and like all those guys, and TJ and Dave Pasquale, and like it was like I learned so much. Those years showed me so much about how to do stand up too, which was so important.
And here we are.
And here we are.
But here's
doing a podcast for free.
So you are a night owl, but you're what I call like a night owl because like there's a asterisk because you're up late, but you're partying, right? Because not partying, but you're out drinking. You're out and about. That's why you're up late.
Yeah.
Correct.
Like it's not. Well, I have issues falling asleep.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to fall asleep.
Always, or is that since you were an adult, or when you were a kid?
I've always had an issue falling asleep.
So what time?
I can't nap ever. I can't like ever since I can remember, I would stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but were you drinking when you were doing that, or not?
No, when I was younger, no. I didn't start drinking until I was like 19.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was kind of a late bloomer.
Oh,
yeah.
You made up for it.
I did, big time. Yeah.
You're legendary from the time I've known you as like one of the most professional drinkers I know.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah.
I mean, I was a functioning alcoholic for years.
Yeah.
But like I see you because I think in Wisconsin you have to be a responsible drinker or a drinker. Like
I moving down here. I thought that's just like I just lived my life how I did in Wisconsin, and then it was like, oh, now I have an excuse to be out every night because I'm performing.
Right.
And then I'm drinking along with that, and then also it's like in Wisconsin it's like 2 a.m. is when bars close, and now you go down here it's like 5 a.m. Right. So I was like, oh, I need to figure this out. Right. So because like I am not leaving until I have to be told to leave. You know, so like. And it was funny. It was like because like shows would end at 2, and then like my adrenaline's running, and I want to keep going out. So then,
what shows were ending at 2?
Well, like open mics would end at 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but when you're like in your beginning stages in stand up,
right.
Like you're trying to do as many sets as you can. So like you're starting at like 5 p.m. and then you're going till like there were times where I would like I'd go up at like 1:50, and then my adrenaline's running after that. And I don't want to go home and go to bed. So like I want to actually like
people don't understand that like. I did a show tonight. I'm wide awake.
Yeah.
It's not gonna. There's even if it's like a 10-minute spot, you're still wide awake for a while.
Yeah.
But like before I did comedy, I was always a night owl anyway, and I was the same way. Like I'd be like, I don't want to go home. What's the point? I'm gonna be up anyway, and I would never. I would be at Last Call. They call me Last Call Paul at the Marquee Lounge because I was always
Why
there.
doesn't that shirt say that?
Last Call Paul.
Last Call Paul. Yeah.
Those different lives now.
Okay.
But see, like I stopped. I had to slow down drinking. I had ulcers, and my doctor was basically like, "You. How does this end? You know?" And like for you, have you slowed down? You said you slowed down, but have you slowed down? Because I've been with you, and I've been drinking with you.
Yeah.
And you're still drinking more than anyone in the room. But you're also like in control. You're not like sloppy.
So it takes me. Okay, so that's the issue. So like I don't get hangovers, right? And so I don't.
You've bragged about that on many podcasts.
Yeah, but it's not like a break, but it's just like I just like don't have to find out where my like limit is. Do you know what I mean? So the problem is as I'm getting older, like that tolerance is going down, but I never felt like I had to figure where that was because the next morning I feel fine. But then I started getting sloppy. So I'm fine. Like when I'm drunk, I'm good. Like nobody can tell. But then when I'm blacked out, you can fucking tell. Right.
Well, I have pictures of you.
Yeah. So there's like, it's like, I have a lot of stories of people being like, I felt like I looked over here and I went over and I'm like, who is this guy? That's not the person I was hanging out with. But as of late, I'm starting to get like really bad panic attacks now because of my drinking. So like
when you're not drinking, or while you're drinking?
The next day. So my hangovers are like
panic attacks,
debilitating panic attacks. Like I think I need to go to the hospital. Panic attacks, and that started happening like 2-3 months ago.
Are you getting shakes if you're not drinking?
It's not. I mean, it is a withdrawal probably that's happening, but I'm not getting like the shakes. But I'm just getting like, because like when I was 22, I went to Las Vegas. Right, I used to go to Las Vegas every year. Like the week before school would start, my friends and I would go to Las Vegas, and it wasn't like gambling and all this crazy. It was just like we're fucking drinking. Yeah, and we would go off season, off week. So we go like Monday through Friday. 5 days in Vegas is a long time, and we'd wake up, we'd go to the
Mandalay Bay.
Mandalay Bay was the first place to stay at the hotel.
Of course.
Yeah, and like all those places, and but like. So I went and I would go, we'd wake up and we'd drink until we blacked out. And then not like, I have to go take a nap. I mean, I wouldn't remember going back to a hotel. And we'd wake up and then it'd be like 7 and we'd go out till 5 in the morning and come back. And so like basically my 5-day trip ended up being like a 10-day trip because of that. Because I would sleep so much,
Yeah.
And then I had a terrible, my first panic attack was on my way home from that trip, which was me going through alcohol.
Well, everyone coming from Vegas on that flight is having some sort of.
Mine's
alcohol.
like I went to the hospital because I
like 22.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I was in this panic attack for like 3 days straight, and I thought if I fell asleep I'd die. Like I was like convinced, so I didn't sleep for 3 days. I was like whatever, and then I finally clicked in my head. I'm like, oh, I'm having a fucking panic attack, and then I called my mom to pick me up, and she took me to the hospital, and then like eventually I like figured it out, like how to handle that.
Which is how?
It's like this is your brain that's causing this. So if you know that, then you can control your brain to fix it, right?
Mentally.
Because like your brain's attacking you, right? And it thinks that something's bad's happening. So it's like it is causing so much adrenaline to happen that you're in a fight or flight stance. So like that's what's happening. So if you know that like, oh, what's happening right now is my thought somewhere subconsciously, like my reptile brain is in that fight or flight mode. So I know that like, okay, I'll slowly fix it. It's like a bad breakup.
So you mentally trick your brain into not having a panic attack without any substances or anything.
Right. I never took any drugs or anything. And then I'm
saying like a Advil or whatever.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So I never took like, Xanax or anything like that. And then like I just kind of fixed it. And then like I would get them like a couple times a year. And then for some reason these last couple of years they just like fucking came back. So I'm like, maybe I shouldn't drink it. I know that I have a drink in my lap right now. I understand how.
Which is funny because the way it started, I go, do you want a drink? No, I don't need a drink. You're like, well, if you're going to have one. And I was like, that's never.
But my new goal is not to black out anymore. Because that's the thing is I'm a consistent black. When people are like, oh, hey, like blacking out's scary. I'm like, that's all I do.
Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
That's what you call it.
I call it Swiss cheese. Yeah.
Gray. I call it gray outs where you remember parts of the night, but you don't remember all of it.
Yeah. Mine's more Swiss cheese because it's like.
Parts.
Because like that's what a piece of Swiss cheese is.
Oh, the whole.
It's all there, but there's holes in it.
Yeah.
Do
you okay? So on
this
the
is
night,
getting sad.
This is turning into an intervention.
It really is.
Are there nights? Are you drinking every night? Like, do you have a drink to fall asleep, or how do you?
No. I don't drink like alone.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I'm like a social like
drinker.
I love drinking. Like I just love.
But you're out every night, almost every night, because
not like I used to. But yeah, there's nights where I've had 30-day benders. Like
I'm not talking about like drinking, but like let's say it's a Tuesday night and you're with your girlfriend. Are you just drinking?
No, I don't drink.
During the week, you're not drinking?
Not really, no.
Okay,
no.
That's good.
Do you?
I don't drink anymore. Like this
At
is
all?
very rare. Yeah, like very
thank
rare.
you for sharing this with me.
Yeah. Well, because I was like, all right,
what
time.
made you stop?
Health, main thing. Two things. I stopped. Well, first of all, and that's
what the podcast is. Is just like the
it's just for
saddest
you.
conversations you've ever had ever. Okay.
For me, I just didn't know. I was like, how's this end, right? Because I have an uncle who has cirrhosis of the liver, all this stuff. I was drinking from 16 to 37, basically every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but not just 3 drinks, like excessively. Like, that's just what I knew since I was 16. And so when I had ulcers, my doctor was like, you're going to die. Like, you have to change your lifestyle. But I was also, the ulcers weren't from the alcohol. It was from like stress of doing stand-up, doing Second City, and being a lawyer.
Yeah.
So it's all mental. But I also was like, I got to slow down. And then I slowed down for a while. Then I went back to drinking. And then Jeannie Dugan went sober when we were doing the singles only podcast. I'm like, I'm going to try it. And I loved it. I was like, holy shit. Like,
really?
After shows, I can just go get food.
Oh, it's so fucking boring.
I know. It is boring, but your body gets used to it. You're more productive.
Yeah. I mean, I got a concussion a few years ago. And it's so like.
God, only fucking 10 minutes in, you have to bring up the concussion.
Do I bring this up a lot on the podcast?
No, but there was the years that it happened. Like, remember, you're like, I had a concussion. You bring it up all. I made fun of you because you bring it up all the time.
Well, I'm just saying,
ahead.
like, because of that, I had to stop drinking for 2 months, and I was a little like, oh man, can I do it? And I did, and it was fine. It was easy, like, which was a good. When you drink as much as I do, it's like kind of like, oh man, do I have a problem? And then when they're like, yeah, you can't drink for 2 months, you're like, fuck. And then I didn't drink for 2 months, and it was like. It was easy. There's not one day where I was like, I need to fucking.
I was the opposite.
Really?
I couldn't drink for 3 months, and I couldn't drink coffee and alcohol. Coffee was harder than alcohol, but I definitely had like headaches and all kinds of stuff because your body is going through withdrawal.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I need something, so I started smoking, which is even more worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that only lasted for
cigarettes
a second.
or weed.
Cigarettes, and then I went to chewing tobacco.
Oh, really?
Which I did when I was, yeah. Not the dip chew, like the fucking southerner chew.
Oh yeah.
Like the what do you call it? Like Red Man.
Yeah.
Can you say that? Can you say Red Man?
I don't know. It's your podcast. What demographic are you going for?
I just want to get canceled already. Yeah. So you're a night owl, but when I say that about you, I feel like you were up. I remember like if I was out, like I think last time we went out on a bender, for lack of a better word, I was like, oh, I went to a Cubs game. I'm like, oh, I know Jonah will be up.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, you and I end up going out longer than everyone else.
Yeah.
Or I just go, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go. You were always up for it.
Yeah.
Back in single days when you were not single, but just Jonah.
Yeah. I mean, even like
when we were younger. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this was like 4 years ago, but like, yeah, I just feel like my body's meant to go. Like I can just go. Like I don't need naps. I don't need breaks. Like I just go.
What time are you? Okay. So what time do you go to bed every night? Like typically?
I mean, it depends. Like my girlfriend goes to bed pretty early and I try to like, I want to go to sleep with her when she does.
Which is what time?
Like depending on the day, but like midnight, 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's kind of early for me. But like if I'm by myself, like last night I went to sleep at like 3:30.
Yeah.
But I get up at 9:30. I get up early.
How are you doing that?
I'm telling you, my body's just meant to go. Like I can just go.
You don't need 6 hours of sleep?
I just can't. I can't. That was so I used to when I was younger. I could sleep till like noon, 1 o'clock, and I just like now it just seems pathetic, and I don't do it. I do it. 40. I really?
Yeah, I sleep till like 11 every
my body
day.
like.
But I go to bed at 4.
Yeah, but even as a kid, I was a night. Like even as a kid, I was a night owl. Yeah. My mom was always like, "Oh, you were perfect," because like. You would like stay up late, but like you would just fall asleep and you sleep all day. And like I guess I was like the best. Where I would never like wake her up in the middle of the night.
But did you, when you were in like 8th grade, like high school, were you up late? Like my parents would let me watch the beginning of Johnny Carson. I remember watching.
Oh, I would stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning every night in high school.
Yeah, high school.
Yeah. Then there was like during the summertime,
but you'd still go to class every day on time.
No,
okay.
I had the worst attendance record of anyone they've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, and they thought I was like a drug addict or I wasn't drinking, and they thought I was like an alcoholic. They were like concerned for me.
Yeah,
and I was like,
what were you doing it when you were a kid?
I was working. I loved working.
At 5 in the morning?
No, I'd work till like 10 p.m. and then I would like either go home and play video games. Best Buy, just high school, and then or like all my friends were in college when I was in high school, so I'd hang out there. I wasn't drinking, but I'd hang out late. Or I'd go to like a late night eat. Like there's a place called George Webb, which is like this late night eat place in Wisconsin. I'd go there and just hang out. Yeah, because I just wanted to. I'm like kind of FOMO kid. So
but how do you? I think I'm the same way about late night stuff. Like I feel like when people are like, "What are you doing after midnight?" And I can't. I'm so productive at that time break.
Really?
Like,
so you work. So you work.
I do work. I get so much shit done.
Yeah.
You don't do that though.
No, I do. I mean, like if I need work to get done, I'll do it.
So your girlfriend goes to bed at 1, let's just say, and you can't fall asleep. Do you force yourself to just lie there with her, or what are you doing?
I'll just lay with her. I was just like, I'll literally just lay there and just think thoughts.
No TV, nothing.
No TV, no nothing, and I'll like just
for 2 hours.
Sometimes 3, 4. Yeah. It's crazy. I can't fall asleep. I'm really bad at falling asleep.
Do you take melatonin or anything?
I started taking a little bit, and it's fine. I don't like the feeling of like my brain races so much that I don't like the feeling of like my body's falling asleep, but my brain isn't. I hate that feeling. Yeah. That scares the shit out of me. That brings up panic attacks for me.
And it also, dreams are so my dreams when I have melatonin are so vivid, and you wake up, you're like,
oh really?
What the fuck?
See, I don't have fucked up dreams.
Yeah.
I only when I was having bad panic attacks, I had a really fucked up. Like, I would be a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream, which was like insane.
What do you mean?
I would like.
Is this The Matrix?
Yeah. It was like what movie is that?
I never saw the movie. But.
Okay. But it's like I would like I would have these like really kind of vivid dreams and like kind of fucked up shit was happening. I'm like, oh, I'm dreaming, and then I would like wake up, but I wake up in another dream. Yeah. So then some more fucked up things are happening. I'm like, oh no, I'm dreaming. So I got to the point where like I didn't know when I actually woke up if it was real or not, and it fucked with my brain for like a. And this is during the beginning of my panic attacks.
But you shouldn't be fucking. If you're in bed and you're not asleep, you shouldn't just lay there for. That's gonna cause.
What am I supposed to do?
I don't get up and fucking do something.
Well, then I'm like moving around, and then I'm energized, and then I'm gonna stay up.
I know that it's not healthy to just lay in the bed and not do anything.
So what's more healthy is me to get up and run around.
Well, I don't know what's healthy. I don't know the
jumping
answer.
Jacks?
No, not doing jumping jacks, but
is
like.
That what you want? You want me to jerk you off in the morning?
I'm not with you. I'm not in this
well,
bedroom.
Do you want me to come
I'm
over?
not in this hypothetical. I mean, we can go get food if you want.
Sure,
I'm up.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just saying like you can do something like send emails out or whatever you have to do. That's like for me, I'm a big to-do list guy, so I like in my head. That's why I can't fall asleep because I'm like, oh, I'll put shit on lists just so I can cross.
So
it
you
off.
think it's okay for somebody to receive an email at 3:30 in the morning from you?
No.
You don't think people are like, them. What the? Oh, you schedule.
Gmail has a
smart.
scheduling thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fucking smart.
Yeah.
So what happens is 3:30, I'm wide awake. I can send my avails to clubs. I can send my press whatever thing like they ask me for pictures, and then I send them for 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock depending on where they're at.
Okay.
And then by the time you wake up at like 11:30, you have responses to like all this shit, and you're like. You're ahead of the game.
I just don't want to wake up my partner, like that's my thing.
Yeah.
If I'm sleeping by myself, I'll like. I mean, I stay up as late as I can until like I'm basically have to fall asleep.
Yeah.
But then I'll do that stuff. Like I'll work on podcasts or.
Right. I mean, you can work on your podcast or like come up with things that like. I just feel like that's the productive time for us, and that's one of the only benefits of being a night owl because you're not distracted with people. Yeah. Like the distractions of everyday life. Like if I'm trying to write during the day, you're going to be distracted by calls. You're going to be checking your Instagram. You're going to be all this stuff. Nothing's happening at 2 a.m.
So like this whole podcast is you proving to people that like
it's
you're
not,
most
there's
productive.
There's pros and cons, right? Like people are like, I don't know the answer, and that's the purpose of this podcast is just to be like fucking. I wish I wasn't a night owl.
I know.
I wish I could wake up at 8 a.m. and be like a productive person.
Are you a night owl when you're not out?
I'm up after shows. If I'm on the road, I come home. I'll go get food because I don't like to eat before my show. I'll get food. And like a lunatic, I'll go to the gym.
Really?
And I'll work out
I used
at like
to do
midnight.
that. I like a good midnight workout.
People, I'm in like Plano, Texas. Drunk people are coming into the room and they're like looking in. They're like, "What the fuck is this guy?"
At the hotel.
At the hotel, yeah.
And
they're like, "I'm a fucking," but I'm like, "What am I gonna do with that energy? I just fucking murdered for an hour."
I mean, now you're
or bombed, whatever. It doesn't matter. You still have the energy.
Yeah.
I didn't murder.
Yeah.
Not in Plano, but other places I did.
I would say as I'm getting older, I am finding myself. It's easier for me to fall asleep earlier, and earlier is like 1 a.m. But if I'm out, I want to be out. I like what we're doing right now. It's late right now. We're having a conversation. I like the social aspect of a night owl.
Right.
Right. Because I hate busy bars, and I hate the classic like singles bars where
clubs,
you're like
or the
like
North
clubs
bar.
or you're like it's all about like I'm trying to hook up with this person or do this whatever.
Yeah.
I like the idea of like, hey, look at this. Isn't it insane that we're together right now and having and drinking? Like, I love a good 4 a.m. bar that is strictly like we're here to fucking drink.
And it's not loud. Like you're not yelling.
It's not loud.
Like as I get older now, I can't deal with loud bars. I'm just like, oh, I can't hear myself think.
Yeah, there's a 4 a.m. bar here in Chicago called Fireside, and that's like one of my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Bars. Well, one, the food's good, but two, it's a chill 4 a.m. bar. Like, and it feels like this. Like, I think that's more of a Wisconsin thing, because Wisconsin to me is like the camaraderie of like we're all doing this together. Like, my favorite night to drink is like when there's a bad winter storm or a rainstorm, and then you're like, I'm fucking going out, and like it's like everyone there is like, look what we did together, and like that's the times when I've met friends who just are random people at bars that I become good friends with or whatever, because it's like, look what we're doing, like this is great. Yeah. Right. That I hate St. Patrick's Day, but I love early St. Patrick's Day, like 9 a.m. We're at the bar together.
I hate St. Patrick's Day.
I hate St. Patrick's Day.
I'll never go out on that. I always
9 a.m.
shows.
Like Eggs and Kegs is 20 years I've been doing Eggs and Kegs.
I can't wake up. I'm not a morning drinker, and
I love it.
So you have the fear of missing out, which I did too, going out. Do you feel that way? Well, so you're waking up at 9 a.m., so you're not missing out on anything. Yeah, you're just missing out on sleep.
I know. So
I feel like I'm missing out on when I wake up at 11. I'm like, all I'm doing for the first hour is like fucking catching up to work. Like I'm like, there's so much thing on my to-do list I gotta get done. I gotta check my Instagram, post it, whatever, all the bullshit that we have to do as comedians. And then but I'm also feel like I'm missing out on stuff. When it's like a beautiful day, I'm like, I feel so bad that I haven't been enjoying it.
Yeah.
Or if I'm in like Florida and the beach is like right in front of me.
Yeah.
I wake up at 12 and like.
I know we sound like psychopaths when I say like, when I go, I wake up at 9:30. I never thought I'd be a morning person. Like, I know that sounds for a normal person where you're like, I get up at 5:30 a.m. bitch. And I'm like 9:30.
9:30 is a morning person to me.
Yeah, I know. Me too. So like, and I think there's a little bit part of me that's in my head where it's like, you know, who I'm dating now has to be because of her career is morning person.
Yeah.
So if I feel bad if I'm texting her at like noon and being like, I just woke up, like, you know, and she's like, you're older than me, motherfucker. And I'm like,
yeah, but you're up late.
Like my career.
You're fucking sitting up staring at her for 3 hours while she's asleep.
No, I'm groping and having sleep sex with her. No, sorry.
Oh, that's even worse.
I get one a year. That's what we decided. I get one a year.
I'm not even gonna. I don't want to get. I already said Red Man once on this podcast. You are 9:30 to me is since I stopped practicing law, I haven't woken up before other than for flights.
Really?
There's no way I'm up before 10.
Yeah.
And if a plumber, like I have a plumber come and say, "Hey, can I come at 9:30?" I'm like, "No."
Oh, I do. Dude, when I have like workers coming and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna start kind of a little later. We'll be there 8:30." I'm like, "Fuck you. Are you fucking serious?" It's insane how nobody understands our life.
Yeah.
Like, and I've dated like third, I want to say string, but third shift nurses.
Third string. Yeah.
And their whole complaint too is like nobody understands my schedule.
Yeah.
Like on a Saturday they're like, let's get brunch at 10, and she's like, I get home at 9:30. I need to sleep. And they're like, what the fuck? Like nobody. It's insane how nobody understands our schedules. It's frustrating.
It gets harder too as you get older too, because people who are in our age demo have already sold their souls. Kids. They have kids that are waking up at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
or they've got jobs where they wake up like normal humans, and so you're further isolated, right?
Yeah,
and so you are in a situation now where you have a girlfriend, so you're not that isolated, but you are in a way because she's going to bed during your hours and she's gone when you're, awake doing nothing.
Right.
So how does that, it's almost like what comes first. Do you become more lonely because you have this sleep pattern, or is it the chicken or the egg? What comes first? Do you think, since you said you were in high school, you were staying up late all the time?
Yeah. But
you were by yourself, right?
Right.
So what were you? You're playing video games by yourself, or were you
just jerking off, brother?
Yeah.
No, I would be watching movies.
College, let's talk about like those people were still up.
I mean, college, I was drinking. I mean, I was like, what's funny is I think I drink more now than I did in college.
I think you do too.
I think so too. It's kind of weird to think about that, just because like I live a life that I'm purposely at a place that has alcohol because of what we do. So like I'm at a. Before it was like, oh, I'm drink. Like it was a plan to drink, and now it's just part of
I feel like
what I do.
Got into comedy because of the drinking, for the free drink tickets.
No,
like,
but I've ruined it. I think we talked about this on your podcast
What's
previously.
that?
Oh, where I've ruined. When I was first starting comedy, I didn't realize how you got judged on your drinking. I thought that was kind of part of it. And then until I had a couple of managers be like, you have to understand.
You did talk about this on a podcast, or you've told me the story about one of the clubs where they're like, how drunk were you?
Yeah.
I don't want to say the name of the club.
I know there's this story. I know I haven't told them this one where like there's a club in Milwaukee that's closed down now that I went up to audition, and then they were like, okay, so you pass the next step. The next step is you host the open mic. And then they're like, we can't pay you, but we'll get you free drinks. And then they're like, you can't, like, they're not going to give you a place to stay. And I'm like, oh, I'm from Milwaukee. Don't worry, it's fine. So I drove up and I did it, and it went fine. I drank what I normally drank. And then I thought it was a good night, and I ended up hanging out at a friend's house. And then the next month, or like, you know, around that time, they were like, they called me up and they were just like, hey, like, we had somebody drop, like, you know, you did well. Do you mind coming up again? And I was like, sure, no problem. And I went up. And then I ordered a beer, and then they were like, yeah, it's $2.50. And I was like, oh, I thought the host gets them for free. And they're like, yeah, that used to be like that, but some asshole ruined it last month. And I found out it was me because I ordered 12 beers. And they I guess they were just like, oh, we've never seen anybody like drink that amount
and
not
normal.
even be be normal. Yeah. So I ruined it for everybody. And that's when I was like, oh, don't do that.
I just remember when you were a kid, or not a kid, but college and post-college, like going to bars just because we had a hookup at the bar, which meant like you wouldn't have to pay for drinks. You're like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Like,
I don't
free
know
drinks.
how I afforded drinking as much as I did. If I look at it now, it's like, there's
So
no
much money.
fucking way. There's no way I was making that kind of money.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how I did it.
always had hookups because I was in the bar industry back then. I was a musician and all that stuff. So I would get free drinks. But the funny part about all that is there was a period where I didn't have that. But when I was 22, like getting a free drink was like, oh, like, even though it was like $3 at our time.
Right.
Now, and I see that now because I don't drink at the shows. I never drink before a show unless
Really?
it's the nasty, like late show. But, you know, we'll get 2 drink tickets, and then I always have 2. And I give them, I'm like, hey, you guys want these? And the faces of these young comics when you give them a free,
that's
like,
a lot of money.
what? Like,
yeah.
And then like you see them rush to the to cash because they've already drank their 2 drinks, and they're like, I have a 3rd one now. I'm like, oh my God, like it's just so funny that I'd be so mad at myself in my 20s for not using these free drinks that I'm getting everywhere.
I know.
And then you forget about it when you go out. Like sometimes I went out with another comedian who drinks a lot, one of our friends, and we did a show. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to get drunk. We're in fucking Milwaukee or in Minnesota. And then we went
Great state to get drunk in.
Yeah. Got a round of drinks for me, him, and a few other people. And it was like $50. I'm like, oh, I forgot. Like,
so cheap.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, oh, we never have to pay for drinks everywhere we go.
Sean Flannery has a great joke where he like forgets how cheap it is outside of, you know, like the major cities.
Well, it was cheap, but it was also like I never buy drinks anymore, like because we're always getting them free. But yeah, the Sean. Oh, when
when he's just like, Sean, okay, it's like I'll order this, whatever, all this stuff. And he's okay, it's $20, and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna buy your bar, like so then I don't have to find a way to get home tonight. Like, it's like I got this.
Yeah,
which is it's great. Like when I go home to Milwaukee, I'm like, this is
it's so crazy.
I'm like, okay,
there's certain states. I was just in Denver's expensive now, but there was a place I was at recently. It was like $2 for a fucking mixed drink. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, how are you guys making money?
It's insane. We had at the bar I worked at, we had quarter flip night. So like, you'd order a drink, and then you'd call like someone to flip a quarter, and if you called it, it was a quarter. If you got it right. If it wasn't, it was a full price.
How does it? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and then I mean, in Wisconsin, there was like bar dice. So like you play against a bar. So there's a bar game that you play. It's a dice game that you play with a bartender, and basically in a certain way you could end up drinking free the whole night. So it's like this dice game, whatever. And what happens is like if you're like second loser, then you pay the round. So if that happens to the bartender, then they have to pay the round. So there's been nights where I've like on a Sunday I'll just go. Well, my friends and I will play, and it's free the whole night. Wow. Yeah, it's
so now. and you're 40.
I am. Thank you for bringing that up.
You brought it up already.
I almost did.
No, you did. You said it before. I
did.
wouldn't have fucking said it.
I know.
I'm very sensitive about my age, so I don't say shit.
How old are you now?
I'm not going to answer that question. Are you said you're slowing down, but like, do you think that you'll ever be able to go to sleep? Like, I mean, yours is all mental, right? You're staying up because your brain is still functioning.
Yeah.
It's like, are you going to address it? Because how's that end for you? Like when you're in your 50s, are you still going to be?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't really know. That's a really good question. I don't know. Like right now, I'm cutting down on blacking out because like I have to because like I just can't mentally. I can't handle the
can't be that
panic
guy
attacks
that's blacking out. Yeah.
No, I don't mind that part. That part doesn't bother me at all.
I don't mind people judging me.
It's just like the next day.
old guy?
It's like what I have to go through the next day is not worth the. And like I don't know, I just like this is the first year where I'm like I feel like I'm the old guy at the bar now, and I don't like that. I hate that.
That was another thing too that stopped my drinking too, because it would get to the point at the end of the night where it's like, okay, if the night keeps going, I'm gonna go start doing drugs, which I don't do anymore.
Yes, I don't do drugs.
Well, right, but then it's like, what else am I gonna do? Like, there's nothing left to do at 3 a.m. if you're not drinking.
Yeah, true. I just love. Don't you miss the conversations?
I do, and what I've been doing now is smoking cigars because it's the same vibe. A lot of comedians now that are sober are smoking cigars.
Okay,
and you get to still hang out late at night with other comedians.
Yeah,
and you don't have a hangover anymore.
I know that's a Flanagan thing you had on a previous episode.
Flanagan and I smoke cigars.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't drink anymore either. Like
right.
he was a sloppy drunk for a while.
Big sloppy drunk.
All right, I wouldn't say big. That's defamation.
Well,
okay, you guys can fight it out on the next episode.
I mean,
but yeah, like, and there's certain people that are like Kevin Bozeman still likes to drink when you go on the road with him. But like, I'm like, I'll drink one night with you, but the other nights let's smoke cigars.
Oh, I've had headliners that like I'm trying to like impress.
Oh,
when you first start, when you're featuring, you want the headliner to be like, hey, I want you to open for me. So like, you know,
do what they do.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, you're a fun hang. And the problem is like, I can drink so much that like there are headliners that are like, this is a good weekend. I'm like, if you ever need another opener or whatever. And a lot of them been like, I can't handle hanging out with you like this every weekend.
See, that's how I am with certain headliners where I'm like, oh, if I call him up to open the show, I'm going to be miserable for every morning because he drinks so much.
Oh, really?
There's certain comedians that are like, and they'll say that, be like,
that's what I'm like, call me up, dude. I can handle it.
Yeah, but then you're doing jokes from fucking 10 years ago.
No, I don't. I do jokes from 8 years ago. But there's new lines. There's always new lines.
Jonah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell the story. Go listen to Jonah. My favorite stories of you. I've told these on every time I've had you on a podcast.
Yeah.
It still makes me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
When we went to an open mic together as adult, like after being established paid regulars. And it's an open mic.
Yeah.
And like that's where you are supposed to do material, especially like you and I were the only established comedians at the club, I think, that are the open mic bar.
Yeah.
And you did like a joke that's like you always do. I was like,
no, I didn't. I did a joke. I did.
You did a joke that is a joke that's you've done at clubs.
I don't know about
yes.
This. Okay.
Because I was laughing so hard. I was like, what?
No, because I had new lines in it. I had a new line.
It still makes me laugh because you defended you. I'm like, you've been doing that joke for 5 years. Like, no, 8.
8, yeah. But I had a new line. Paul had a new line in there.
I don't think he did.
I did. I know I do.
I think you just got to the point of like, who are you? This is all
Daddy
comedians.
improvises a lot. Oh, I improvise so much.
Jonah. All right. Well, we're out of time here.
We're out of time.
We went over for every time I have you on anything.
That's my skill. That's my skill set. This is why
you always run the light.
This is why people go out till 4 a.m. with me because I'm like, it's a good time, right? We're having such a fun talk. Oh. This is also previous. If you don't name this the saddest podcast ever, I'm gonna be mad at you.
Well, for you it's different because I didn't know you were a night owl before you started drinking, and I didn't know you started drinking at 19. I honestly thought you were like me, where I was drinking in high school, and so I drank more in high school than I drank.
Really?
In college, yeah.
Really?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, because yeah, I mean, your body can handle it. And
why do you think you drank so much? Your friends, or just because you wanted to?
Well,
for me, it's all social.
It was all social.
Yeah.
I liked myself when I was drunk. I had no confidence as a kid.
Yeah.
And when I was drunk, I'd be like the life of the party. People thought it was fun, whatever. And I was like, okay. And I had more like confidence.
Yeah.
And then it just developed into like it just became routine.
Yeah.
In college, in law school, and then when I was in a band, I started doing other shit too.
Yeah.
But the podcast isn't an intervention. It's about staying up late.
Feels like it. This one felt like it.
Well, because for you, it's you. I mean, people who are going to listen to this episode will be like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, like holy shit.
We didn't even talk about how much you drank. Yeah, Jonah, where can people find out about your podcast and everything?
Well, you can follow me at JONAH JURKENS. That's JURKENS on Instagram or what are all those.
You
things.
Don't even do that.
I don't have 9 pictures up, but I have a lot of 100 followers, and they're a lot of 100 followers.
Okay.
But
the Let's Get Dumb podcast.
Let's Get Dumb podcast with me and another comedian, Joe Gallen. It's very funny. And we just talk about we embrace how dumb we are, and kind of like how this podcast is. And then Blackour Diaries podcast, which is I run a show, which is a drinking storytelling show with me and this comedian Sean Flannery, who's very funny.
Who also wrote an amazing book. Yeah. Yeah.
Who also rated the Chicago's #1 drunk. He's Chicago Reader named him as that. We run a weekly storytelling show about drinking, and it's developed into a podcast.
Blackout Diaries at Lincoln Lodge.
Yes, every
and
Friday.
Then what's the other podcast?
It is Never Seen Vanderpump Rules, which shall be released. When is this being released?
Probably around that time.
Okay. How do you know this?
Because I know.
Yeah.
I know how you work.
Uh-huh.
I know what keeps you up late at night, Jonah.
You do.
Thank you, Jonah, for another
me,
fun time as always.
Yeah, I'm so happy I did this for free.
Thank you all for watching or listening to another edition of Why Are You Awake? Go to sleep.